Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
And now chapter 6. His forms are one and the same.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
By devotional service, one can understand that Krishna first of all manifests himself as Svayam Rupa, his personal form, then as Tadekatma Rupa, and then as Avesha Rupa. It is in these three features that he manifests himself in his transcendental form. The feature of Svayam Rupa is the form by which Krishna can be understood by one who may not understand his other features. In other words, the form by which Krishna is directly understood is called Svayam Rupa, or his personal form. The Tadekatma Rupa is that form which most resembles the Svayam Rupa, but there are some differences in the bodily features. The Tadekatma Rupa is divided into two manifestations, the personal expansion, or Svamsha, and the pastime expansion, Vilas. As far as the Avesha Rupa is concerned, when Krishna empowers some suitable living entity to represent him, that living entity is called Avesha Rupa, or Shakyavesha Avatar. The personal form of Krishna can be divided into two, Svayam Rupa and Svayam Prakash. As far as his Svayam Rupa or pastime form is concerned, it is in that form that he remains always in Vrindavan with the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This personal form, Svayam Rupa, can be further divided into Prabhav and Vaibhav forms. For instance, Krishna expanded himself in multiple forms during the Ras dance in order to dance with each and every gopi who took part in that dance. Similarly, at Dwarka, he expanded himself into 16,108 forms in order to accommodate his 16,108 wives. There are some instances of great mystics also expanding their bodily features in different ways, but Krishna did not expand himself by any yoga process. Each expansion of Krishna was a separate individual. In Vedic history, Saubhari Rishi, a sage, expanded himself into 8 forms by the yoga process, but Saubhari Rishi remained one. As far as Krishna is concerned, when he manifested himself in different forms, each and every one of them was a separate individual. When Narad Muni visited Krishna at different palaces at Dwarka, he was astonished at this, and yet Narad is never astonished to see expansions of a yogi's body, since he knows the trick himself. Yet in Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that Narad was actually astonished to see the expansions of Krishna. He wondered how the Lord was present with his queens in each and every one of his 16,108 palaces. With each queen, Krishna himself was in a different form, and he was acting in different ways. In one form, he was engaged in playing with his children, and in yet another form, he was performing some household work. These different activities are conducted by the Lord when he is in his emotional forms, which are known as Vaibhav Prakash expansions. Similarly, there are other unlimited expansions of the forms of Krishna, but even when they are divided or expanded without limit, they are still one and the same. There is no difference between one form and another. That is the absolute nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that when Akrura was accompanying both Krishna and Balaram from Gokul to Mathura, he entered into the waters of the Yamuna River and could see in the waters all the planets in the spiritual sky. He also saw there the Lord in his Vishnu form, as well as Narrated and the 4 Kumaras who were worshipping him. As stated in the Bhagavad Purana, Anye cha samskritatmano vidina bihitena te yajanti tvan mayastvam vai bahumurtye kamurtikam. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 40, Verse 7. There are many worshippers who are purified by different processes of worship, such as the Vaishnavas or the Aryans, who also worship the Supreme Lord according to their convictions and spiritual understanding. Each process of worship involves understanding different forms of the Lord, as mentioned in scriptures, but the ultimate idea is to worship the Supreme Lord Himself. In his Vaibhav Prakash feature, the Lord manifests Himself as Balaram. The Balaram feature is as good as Krishna himself, the only difference being that the bodily hue of Krishna is dark and that of Balaram is fair. The Vaibhav Prakash form was also displayed when Krishna appeared before his mother Devaki in the 4-handed form of Narayan, just when he entered the world. At the request of his parents, however, he transformed himself into a 2-handed form. Thus he sometimes manifests 4 hands and sometimes 2. The 2-handed form is actually Vaibhav Prakash, and the 4-handed form is Prabhav Prakash. In his personal form, Krishna is just like a cowherd boy, and he thinks of himself in that way. But when he is in the Vasudeva form, he thinks of himself as the son of a kshatriya and acts as a princely administrator. In the 2-handed form, as the cowherd son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna fully exhibits his opulence, form, beauty, wealth, attractiveness, and pastimes. Indeed, in some of the Vaishnava literatures, it is found that sometimes, in his form as Vasudeva, he becomes attracted to the form of Govinda in Vrindavan. Thus, as Vasudeva, he sometimes desires to enjoy as the cowherd boy Govinda does, although the Govinda form and the Vasudeva form are one and the same. In this regard, there is a passage in the 4th chapter of the Lalita Madhava, chapter 4, verse 19, in which Krishna addresses Uddhava as follows, quote, "My dear friend, the form of Govinda, the cowherd boy, attracts me. Indeed, I wish to be like the damsels of Vraja, who are also attracted by this form of Govinda." Unquote. Similarly, in the 8th chapter, Krishna says, quote, "Oh, how wonderful it is! Who is this person? After seeing him, I am so attracted that I am now desiring to embrace him just like Radhika." Unquote. There are also forms of Krishna which are a little different, and these are called Tadekatma Rupa forms. These may be further divided into the Vilas and Svamsha forms, which in turn have many different features and can be divided into Prabhav and Vaibhav forms. As far as the Vilas forms are concerned, there are innumerable Prabhav Vilasas by which Krishna expands himself as Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Sometimes the Lord thinks of himself as a cowherd boy, and sometimes he thinks of himself as the son of Vasudeva, a Kshatriya prince, and this thinking of Krishna is called his pastimes. Actually, he is in the same form in his Vaibhav Prakash and Prabhav Vilas, but he appears differently as Balaram and Krishna. His expansions as Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are in the original Chatur Vyuha or 4-handed forms. innumerable four-handed manifestations in different planets and different places, and they are manifested in Dwarka and Mathura eternally. From the four principal four-handed forms, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, there are manifest the principal 24 forms called Vaibhav Vilas, and they are named differently according to the placement of different symbols, such as the conch, mace, lotus, and disc in their hands. The four principal manifestations of Krishna are found in each planet in the spiritual sky, and these planets are called Narayana Loka or Vaikuntha Loka. In the Vaikuntha Loka, he is manifested in the four-handed form of Narayan. From each Narayan, the forms of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are manifested. Thus Narayan is the center, and the four forms of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha surround the Narayan form. Each of these four forms again expand into three, and these all have different names, beginning with Keshava. These forms are 12 in all, and they are known by different names according to the placement of symbols in their hands. As far as the Vasudeva form is concerned, the three expansions manifested from him are Keshava, Narayan, and Madhava. The three forms of Sankarshan are known as Govinda, Vishnu, and Sri Madhusudana. It should be noted, however, that this Govinda form is not the same Govinda form that is manifested in Vrindavan as the son of Nanda Maharaj. Similarly, Pradyumna is also divided into three forms known as Trivikram, Vamana, and Sridhara. And the three forms of Aniruddha are known as Rishikesha, Padmanabha, and Damodar.